Senator McDowell?
Here.
Senator Tassar?
Here.
Teaser? My bad. Senator Pietrasanta?
Here.
Senator Belanger? Here. Senator Aveling?
Hello.
Senator Adhikari? Here. Senator Goswami?
Here.
ACES Co-Director DeRoche? ACES Co-Director Coleman?
Here.
ACES Outreach Coordinator Preston?
Present.
Green Fund Co-Chair Snodgrass? Here. TA Gould?
Here.
Strict Delegate Cheslak? ISO Delegate, no. Okay, thank you all. Now we are going to have to vote on the approval of the minutes. So we're just going to go right on into that. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and this is to approve the minutes of the last Student Senate meeting. And the polls are now open. So speedy, that was record time.
Oh, my.
Wow. No, that is good. Wow, that was took like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was 18.
Okay.
It was 18, yeah.
What is it?
It was 18.
Huh?
What is it? Results?
Hello.
Yeah.
Just so we don't. Name tags haven't been claimed? Excuse me? Thank you very much. Would you have cleaned house? All right. Let's now move into public comments, announcements, and additional events. So if anyone has any of those, President Becker.
I'd like to echo the student success survey that was sent out by Venue House a week ago. This is also known as the Bubble Day survey. They're looking at 10% turnout for the survey. It shouldn't take more than like 5 to 10 minutes to do, and will help like future generations of Grinnellians like feel at home within their respective communities in Grinnell. So please take a moment to fill that out.
You're right.
Yeah, one more.
Thank you. Senator Nieto.
Hey all, so me and Siamo met with the Director of Health and Wellness, Eric Wood, earlier this week, and he was really receptive to talking about all the changes from the shacks, and he wants to invite students to come and meet with him. Anyone can go, and so he gave the following dates: Wednesday, March 6th at 9 a.m., Thursday, March 7th at 3 p.m., and Friday, March 8th at 3 p.m. for anyone to come there and discuss the changes from the shacks. So everyone's welcome.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, so Wednesday, March 6th at 9 a.m., Thursday, March 7th at 3 p.m., and Friday, March 8th at 3 p.m. They'll be meeting in the counseling center, so I guess just go to Shacks and just ask around to where the meetings are happening.
So it's just to like talk with
Eric,
about
yeah.
concerns.
Yes.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Senator Aveling.
Hello, also just my name is Grinnell. Sorry.
Aveling, I'm so sorry.
No worries at all. Senator Collinger and I have some updates from the dining council meeting, which we thought might be of interest. First off, ramen is now being served on Thursdays at the Grill. It is very fancy and has a lot of very interesting things in it, so its cost is $8. There's a student initiative for the Grill to sell Cheez-Its, and they said they could do that, but only if it would cost about $3. So please let them know if this would be of interest. What do you all think of that?
$3 for like 3 ounces, like is it worth it then?
Because of a single Cheez-It. Okay, we have a question from Casey Welch.
Is it one of those like small bags?
I'm pretty sure they said 3 ounces.
Yeah,
so
so
that's
that's
4 ounce bag.
yeah, so those suck. So
About 6 those bags in a bottle.
yeah, so
Yes.
Can we side conversation, because I can understand.
Yes. Please, because the space is small, please limit side conversation, because then people cannot hear.
Point of information.
Yes.
On that point, remember, since we don't have mics in here with the side conversation, it can make people, like if you're hard of hearing, it can be hard to hear over the side chatter.
Okay, I'm going to keep going. Fresh steel cut oatmeal has been for breakfast every day this week, and that's going to continue. There's a recipe submission site that's active, and they're going to send out an all-campus email soon with instructions on how to access it. There's a marketplace special coming on March 13th. I didn't hear what it was, PETA something, but it sounded very exciting. Dining has been coordinating specific student training to raise awareness of important policies. Last month was cross-contamination and glove usage. This month is going to be learning all about what the new symbols mean, because there are new icons. Also, they're taking away the fried tofu from the vegan salad bar because it was costing about $21,000 a year extra. There's a student petition to wash the fruit and remove the stickers. Dining told us that the fruit is always already washed, but the stickers are installed after washing for some reason. They're considering the option of having a sink available for students to wash their own fruit, as per Senator Dunning's suggestion. There was a student petition to bring back the old kidney beans, as the new ones are apparently pretty disgusting. Dining said they have no control over this, and they are identical. There's a student petition to have breakfast sandwiches that they are considering. There's a student petition to have yogurt without gelatin in it. Dining told us that they sourced the Greek yogurt locally because it does not have animal gelatin in it for this reason, but they don't have control over the gelatin in the other yogurt, and it's possible it could be beef. There's a student initiative to provide grape nuts as a low-sugar cereal option that Dining is considering. They are also, what's up?
And in that sense, when talking about like, we kind of went off of the idea of what low sugar type of cereal would people want, because it seems like a lot of the times the cereals are very sugary. So if you guys have any suggestions or you want to ask, please relay them back to us. That would be awesome. Keep going.
Yeah, there was also a suggestion to remove the meat from some of the quiches, grilled cheese, and the little plat du jour sandwiches that they immediately jumped on, which I was very impressed. I was able to eat quiche the next day. Large muffins are being made available. They're going to at the grill. They're going to cost $2.75 and be a lot larger and more delicious than the smaller muffins. Naked bars were sold at the grill briefly, and they were very popular, and the grill was stocked more. Dining is considering a student initiative to sell plain yogurts in cups at the grill. Dining is considering a student initiative to sell Cheez-Its for $3, as we said. Dining is considering a student initiative to have a more varied array of snacks, but note that they already source the cheapest snacks they can, so there will be price increases if they source different snacks. There's a student initiative to make utensils and cups in the grill actually recyclable. Dining noted that the cups for cold items are made out of cornstarch, but they can't do this for hot items because they would melt. Dining is currently working on having net nutrition information available for the grill, and they should have updates on that by the next committee meeting. If you want me to just email you my notes instead of having to type them frantically, please let me know.
Please email them to me.
Thank you very much. BPSA Anand.
Just with the Cheez-Its thing, I just want to stress on how critical it is that we demonstrate significant interest, because apart from the fact that it's expensive, that's something that has a very low shelf life, so they would not consider, so they were like, we won't consider having it unless there's actual interest, because that will cost if it goes back.
Thank you. Senator Stallings.
Yes, hi. Mine was about a different announcement. Okay. I'm not sure if
If-
we're ready to move on from this. Sorry.
Pardon?
I'm not sure if we're ready to move
No,
on
I
from
don't think
this.
so. We're just going to get to one other, then we can shift to you. Senator Vega.
Yes, could you tell us what time the wine is going to be served on Thursday? Because a lot of people had questions when I was looking.
I believe it's afternoon, like after 12 p.m.
Thank you. Senator Stallings.
Hi. So I sit on the tutorial advising committee, and you should have gotten an email about participating in conversations about advising and advising expectations upon coming to Grinnell. And there will be another one of those meetings on March 7th. They want to know things like, what do you expect of an advisor? How do you feel that, especially given your own identities, how do you feel the advising has worked for you at Grinnell? What do you think can be improved? And honestly, like, as a low-income first-generation student, I've said things in these meetings that have blown their minds. So, like, sincerely, please, like, especially if you feel that you haven't been catered to, like, go to these meetings. I think these people often, like, don't have a lot of interaction face-to-face with students, and it's been really, really eye-opening. So if you get a chance, Thursday at 11 to noon, I'm not sure exactly where those meetings are. There's a form for it. It's in your email, but please.
I think it's Jared, in the Jared 101, I want to say.
I'm not sure.
I
Really, I should have gotten this. If you didn't get this email, I'll just forward it to you, because some people say they didn't get it.
So it will be forwarded to Dylan and then distributed to everyone else. Do we have any other public comments, announcements, or additional events? Lama?
I don't know if my budget was approved for sending. So I want to go off of it. Yeah.
So you want to come check and see if the budget was approved?
Yes.
It was.
Okay.
It's the PCSU, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Joshua?
So I spoke to you guys during training about the election engagement committee. I will be sending a poll out through Dylan about people who think they want to be on it and when they want to be there. Just to recap, there's been sort of a need to centralize civic engagement on this campus. A lot of groups do the same thing separately. So we're trying to find a space where we can all come together, no matter your political affiliation, and talk about how, not just in an election year, but after an election year, before, how we can equip students to be civically engaged. So look out for that.
Thank you. Anything else? President Becker?
The student initiative ballot will be going out sometime early this week, so keep an eye out for that as well. Feel free to throw that in your minutes. That should be getting out.
Thank you. Okay, seeing that we have no further additional comments, announcements, or events, we are now going to move on to agenda item number 4, which is a discussion topic on productive and professional discourse at Student Senate. Senator Grinnell.
Yeah, so I just had a conversation with Senator Stallings, Carrie, a few days ago about just making this space as productive as we can and remembering to be aware of how we are presenting ourselves in space. So don't make gestures or make faces at people when they're saying when they're giving different ideas. It's just remember to keep a professional attitude in this space so that everyone can feel comfortable. Especially since last semester we had a conversation about how we want to encourage more discussion in Senate. So just remember to not make people feel uncomfortable. I don't know if Carrie wants to add.
Yeah, I definitely am not above this. I know that I have to be really aware of how I interact with people, especially when I disagree with them, especially on heated topics. But I would like to think that we're all here because we care about productiveness and making things happen for the student body. And I think the best way to do that is to respect each other and to demonstrate that we respect each other, especially in how we interact with each other when we're talking about the things that we discuss in this room. So that's really all. I think we just want to make a point to say that and be open about that because I feel like it's not something that we discuss a lot. And if anyone has any other comments about how they think we can better make this space less tense and welcoming, especially to open and honest discussions with each other, feel free.
Sorry, did you say something?
I think that delegates should also have a seat at the table. I think, I know some people were mentioning to me how they don't feel comfortable or they don't think that they can talk within Senate. And I think opening up the space to the entire student body is really important.
Missy Welch?
Our next meeting in 101, we're gonna have a lot of round tables that we'll be able to see each other and have discussions. Maybe we'll have time when we break out and have little discussions and share them with the larger group. Just something to try out and see if we like it.
Switching it up. Do we have any other additions to this discussion? Senator Vega?
Yeah, I really appreciate your bringing this to the discussion. And also at the end of the day, we are just doing this so that our peers and our colleagues at this institution can have a better experience, safer experiences, and a more enjoyable time. So thank you.
Senator Michelle?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Also, another thing, there was a staff editorial published in the S&B, and it was titled "Students Do Not Do Enough to Combat Racism on Campus." If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend you do. But basically, they talk about calling like to action, like more conversation around like racial incidents that happen, like racially biased incidents that happen on campus. And I feel like those conversations should start in the Senate. And so it's really important to remember that when we have difficult conversations like that, whenever incidents happen, to keep this in mind.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions regarding this discussion? No? Okay, so we are going to now move on to the next agenda item, which are the ACE budgets. So each agenda stick.
Yeah, so today we had 5 budgets. It went pretty well. We talked about a lot of different things regarding, I guess, how we're looking at money in terms of just thinking off of the top of my head, how we're looking at itemized lists and how we're looking at all these different components to the budget process. So yeah, everything got passed this week compared to last week. We had someone from last week come here to present because that's a word. Because they had to just give us a better detailed list. I think that lately people have just been like giving us a blob of something and then just like giving the amount, and so getting that itemized list from people. So yeah, kind of.
Thank you. So we have a budget that is over $1,000 we will need to discuss. So could the presenters of this budget please stand up?
Those of you who were like here last semester, or spring semester last year, you probably remember Carnival Harris, which is I say it's an annual party that ACSU does, but this is I think the second time we're doing it. And before our Harris happens, before our party is executed, we have to make our costume. So these are the feathers for the costumes that for the costume workshop that we're going to have before our party. This is literally just $1,000 worth of feathers and stuff. Do you want me to explain Carnival? Do you want to explain the costume?
Please do.
Okay, I don't know how many of you are familiar with, like, you know Rihanna's wearing like little tiny costumes like that? We're throwing that party. Carnival is a holiday or a parade that coincides with the Lenten season. We really try to stay true to the Caribbean execution of Carnival. The biggest, the moral of the story, the moral of Carnival is like a letting go, like a purging of stresses or whatever. So we're making this a spring party so we can like just spring into the season. So that's it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on this budget? Senator Nieto?
Yola, I'm also from
No, we didn't. No. But then we also have, like with Carnival, we also, okay, so we wanted to ask SGA for the feathers, and then, like, okay, so there's a whole lot of trouble around the scheduling of the party. When we know when our party's going to be, we're going to have to ask for more money for like the actual party itself, and maybe that's when we'll go to MLC, and like maybe get like food or something. Or since we don't know when the party's going to be, we still want to like have like the spirit of Carnival on campus, and that's where we're making sure that this workshop's going to happen. We're still like dabbling with ideas of how we're going to like, celebrate, but we're definitely going to workshop. We're definitely going to get the school together so that we can make our costumes and like get ready and have that like, we gotta do something.
Senator Goldover?
Do you have a date or a venue for when you're gonna hold this workshop, or where?
So the workshop is tentative. Like we're thinking of like just doing it during our meeting time, and at least this meeting time, which is like Thursday at 9, maybe like have like Thursday like 7 to 9. Or we do it the day before the party in Grinnell, or we do it at the party if we end up doing it outside. We have like 3 different ideas for like when we're gonna do the feathers, what the feather thing is gonna happen. Does that make sense?
Yes,
The feather thing is
for
gonna
sure
happen. Yeah, we're gonna make costumes for sure.
The reason why we're asking now for like the feathers is feathers are actually quite hard to obtain. The pricing changes all the time. Sometimes some feathers are available, sometimes they're not. Sometimes the shipping is messed up, and feathers are just getting a week, come in a month. And we don't want that to happen, so we want to know that we have our feathers.
Thank you. Senator Roger?
I wanted to ask, did you guys ask around for glue? Because I'm sure that there are.
Yeah, that's where it says NA. I explained this in the earlier meeting. We know that there's glue on campus, but we want to make sure we have five glue guns. So let's say if she only has 2, then we ask for 3. You know, if she has 5, then we don't need glue guns.
Senator Goldhammer?
How do you plan on promoting this event, this
We
environment?
post, okay, like the workshop?
Yeah.
Okay, so we posted, we have an email list where it's you know, like a lot of the kids, like word of mouth, but we do have like a social media and outreach committee in our organization that they'll get the word out with our posters and stuff. And we did talk about the possibility of tabling too. And then also if we end up having in the grill, we just, yes.
Thank you. Senator Doty?
You said that all the time the pricing changes, so how did you get these prices?
That's what it is right now. I have also like a document of links for every single feather, like everything. That's not in this one, it's in like another document. So those ones, like every single, like last time I checked, every single feather can be bought. I don't know how long it will last though.
Senator Jones?
How does this funding request amount compare to last year's for feathers?
I know I was here for last year. I just off the top, I don't have a laptop on me, I can't remember. It was somewhere in the thousands. I think I'm pretty sure we asked for more because we got more than just feathers. We got feathers, we had centerpieces, we had a call, taking pictures, you know, we had a photo booth. So I think we're somewhere around 3K.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments or questions? Zana, do you have anything left to add?
No. I would like for SJ to help me with Carnival. I need clarity on Carnival itself, but in terms of the feathers, I think necessary.
Thank you. You guys say something?
What do you mean that clarity on Carnival? Do you mean like the date? What do you mean?
Yeah.
April 6th is the date.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, for sure.
Thank you. AC Roach?
That's not when disco is, right?
No.
This goes
No.
No,
this weekend?
no, Beyonce this weekend.
Tomorrow.
Okay, can we centralize this and bring it to everyone? What was the question and what is the answer?
Okay, my question?
Or the discourse that's happening?
Okay, so, we requested the date of like April 6th for Harris. We got that date, and then we got another email saying that we have to move it to March 9th or April 27th. I think it was like something like that. And so we were like, all right, like cool, we'll work with them March 9th or April 27th. But then Courtney, which is like our ACSB president, told me that she talked to Michael Sims and he said we don't have the Harris like period. So we're like, okay, now what we're gonna do next, is then collaborate with Soul and then actually like forward the rate and have it on max deal. That's what we're trying to do right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just think that'd be better too.
Okay, Aisha Mystic?
Sorry.
Oh, my bad. So basically what happened was that, to the best of my knowledge, was that when you guys originally requested the space, we were in the process with Michael Sims rearranging all of the dates. And so when that happened and everyone's dates got moved, you guys got moved to the 9th. But then when I talked to Courtney, well, I met with her, and I talked to her about it. In that meeting, it was cool for the 9th, but then upon further discussion with the cabinet, apparently it wasn't. So I just had you guys for the 6th of April. But what happened was, the reason why Michael Sim said that you guys didn't have a date was because of the fact that he didn't know I set the dates. And so he was going around telling everybody they didn't have a date, and I ended up clarifying that with him on Friday, but that was like after the fact that we had.
So right now our Harris is booked for April 6th. Okay, and I also want to say that might not happen.
Okay, so this vote will be on the budget for the feathers. Is there a question? No? Okay, because I just want to make sure everyone is hearing what is happening at those times, because that's only fair. Senator Stallings?
Can we move on this?
Yes, motion to be this question, seconded by President Becker. Okay, this is a vote on the feathers, which is without questioning, this is happening.
Point of order.
Yes.
Is this a vote on the feathers or to move to vote?
Oh, no, sorry, yeah, you're right. This was seconded. Shall we go into the voting procedure? All those in favor? You just gotta raise your hand, look at this. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Please raise your hands nice and high. Okay, thank you. We are now going to move into the voting procedure, and this is for a vote on the feathers requested by ACSU for their event. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. Thank you for the correction. This was my mistake. Okay. So with 16 in favor, 2 opposed, and 1 abstaining, this budget passes. Congratulations.
Enjoy your breaks.
Thank you all for your engagement. Just a reminder, because we're in this space, let's just all work really hard to keep discussion centralized so we can keep moving through things. And please project your voice for the cameras. Senator Zernick?
I would just love clarification because I can hear from the back that, so the date for Carnival is April 6th and the location is Macfield or is it Harris?
So, say that I just whispered about. They're thinking we're going to go to Macfield thing. So now it's going to be Macfield and the date is when it's warm. You know? So when it gets warmer, then we're going to be like, okay. Yeah.
If it does rain, as sometimes it does in the spring, is there a rain location?
Yeah, BC. Now that's it. I just thought about this now. So, no.
I think no.
Okay.
So
That's smart idea.
the discussion at hand is not directly relevant to the budget that we just passed, so I think if this needs to be addressed at a later date, then that should be added to a further agenda, because this event is happening in over a month. So let's move on to that is the only $1,000 ACE budget. Thank you, H. Mystic and Zama. We are now going to move on to number 6, which is SPC and services budget. So Joshua.
Hi guys, so we had 5 budgets show up this time. We had 2 services budget, which is great. First off, we have Extreme Society, they're here. Well, it's the food budget we discussed last Senate, it will be discussed here as well. We approved it. We had the Grinnell Gymnastics Club. They wanted funding for the whole semester. We asked that they have their first iteration of the event because they weren't so short numbers, and it was quite a big ask. If anyone wants to see the little spreadsheet they're sending me, to sign up, just ask, I have it as well. SACNAS wanted funding for a conference in Chicago, but we asked that they come back next week because we realized there were sort of issues with liability with like the van. If you don't know, if you rent a student van, you can't take it outside the vibe. So we're starting this thing where we're thinking about insurance and liability. If they took their own car, that would be fine, it would be under their own insurance, but college insurance doesn't cover you if you take a college van outside Iowa, apparently. And then the 2 services budgets was kids music, and the swim team is doing a communion. Anyone have questions?
Senator Goldhammer?
Could you talk about kids music a little bit more?
Kids music is this program where students at the college go teach kids in town. Well, they go teach them music, but right now they're actually teaching them how to compose music. So it's really interesting. If you guys wanted. I'm not gonna say the music is great, but it's really cool to see like these little kids learning how to compose music. Like they're very talented, and they seem to be enjoying it. We're funding sort of the snacks because again, it's like 5 to 10-year-olds and you can only hold their attention for so long.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any comments or questions, or can we move on to the Extreme Society budget? No? Okay.
All right, hi everyone. I'm back for Extreme Society. So as was recommended by Senate, I am back asking for food funding based on an estimate of what we're going to be doing. So I put a little more thought into it as far as like what that would actually look like. Because like I said last week, I wasn't sure whether or not that's actually viable for funding. But coming back with it here, I made it so that we maintain a personal contribution for the trip. So what that looks like per student is they're covering 1 meal per day, and we're estimating meals at $3 a meal per person because that's what Food House works with. So we figured it's a pretty reasonable estimate. We're not trying to eat anything too fancy, and we'll probably have a lot of mainly vegetarian meals just for low cost and ease of cooking in addition to people's dietary needs. And then on top of that, I also added to the list just a few usable like cooking related items that would be nice to have funded that Corp didn't have. I was able to go to them and check out their equipment, see what they have for us to use, get my hands on all that, which was exciting. And so the things listed are things that they just don't have that would be nice to have covered if possible, including fuel that Corp sells, so to say, through them. So yeah, so the personal contribution comes out to $42 per person when you calculate it out. So that totals out to, I think it's like something like $630. Can't read from right here, but yeah, so there's that. Yeah, $630, and then the funding that I'm asking for from SGA is $1,260, $1,260, and that covers 2 of those meals per day, calculated at $3 per meal per person for 14 meals.
Thank you very much. So, Mr.
Would you not say that breakfast does not cost like $3 every
Right.
day? And so wouldn't it be like more appropriate to maybe ask for like one $3 meal from SGA rather than 2 if you think breakfast is going to be less than $1?
Yeah, so I think that's pretty reasonable to think. What I'm also considering when I'm thinking about the 2 meal coverage is that includes like trail snacks and stuff like that. So we're doing like pretty high activity things throughout the day. So I think it's pretty reasonable that there's going to be like some food in addition to just define like 3 meals. And I would also like to make sure that there's like a comfortable amount of money for meals available. We talked a lot about the idea last meeting about like people's accessibility and feeling as if like they can access a surf like and not be super concerned with enough money to eat while they're there. And so I feel like this is a really comfortable way to make sure that people feel good about that. I want to ask for what I think is reasonable, and then as we proceed, if people feel that it's too much, then yeah, we're going over that. But
Thank you. Is you ever?
So, something that I talked about with the committee, and that I would like to bring up again, is kind of the treasurer's office take on this. Of course, I by no means want to invalidate the amount of work that Jen has put into this. I like congratulate you so much on how well you've done. I'm like very impressed. However, I think something that the treasurers would like all of you to keep in mind is just that all break over spring break is a $60 expected personal contribution. And given that Extreme Society has spoken about financial aid opportunities with Michael Sims, I don't think that a $60 outside contribution, a personal contribution, is unreasonable. It's also, and this is me speaking, I don't want to speak for Quinn here, but okay, I'm speaking for Quinn. I think that it's just very important that we think critically about any and all like additions that we make to budgets after we've approved them. This is a significant amount of money, and I think that it's really important that we just think about how necessary it is that we approve any like large budgets. That isn't to say that I like vote how you will, but that's our take.
You see, Logan? I had a question on the amount, because like, as I'm trying to figure out what my take on like the amount we should add to the budget is,
I agree that I think a $60 personal contribution is really reasonable. And I would propose to the senators that we consider bringing it back to that. Just knowing that there are financial aid opportunities, I think that when we're sending students on spring break for people who can't afford it, they should meet that same contribution as fall break. But I was actually wondering about the jump in numbers of the budget, because last time, I think a senator or someone did ask where food was coming in, and it was included in the personal contribution. But the personal contribution that was cut was like about $18 per person, but about $1,300 had added to the budget. So I guess I was just wondering about that discrepancy and how much could reasonably be cut from this budget, do you think? And students still have, like, feel assured that they're gonna eat during this trip.
Right, yeah.
It's like, is the number this, or is the number what it was last time?
Right, yeah. Okay, so super valid question. I'll say that like last time, the personal contribution, just because I hadn't really thought out like what food is going to look like in a dollar by dollar like amount, because I wasn't thinking about that like regarding the budget specifically at the time. I did put in more thought into it and like felt as if like a $3 per meal, like specifically thinking about like a lunch per meal seemed reasonable. So that's kind of where like this number specifically came from. I guess the discrepancy from prior was kind of more based on like the estimate ballpark. Like we spent about $45 last trip per person, so to just kind of round that up seemed around 900 seemed reasonable. But actually thinking a little bit more critically about it, I think this is more accurate if we're really breaking it down. My math might be slightly off on the 900 there, so you can check me, go for it. All good. But also one thing that was brought up is, so last week we had the personal contribution at $60, right? And the Senate felt as if we need to reconsider whether or not that's reasonable, / whether or not that's enough for money. So if we move back to $60, I think that's totally valid, right? And I think the way I would adjust the budget from where it is now to something like that is I would calculate the difference between a personal contribution of $42 and $60, and then just take that away from the $12.60 that's being proposed in the food section. That's the way I guess I would feel most comfortable adjusting it. That seems reasonable to people. So 18 by 15. I'm not sure the math is on that, sorry. But 270 right now. Okay, 270, which would position us like right about at $1,000, which is a bit closer to what we had as the overall personal contribution from last week. So I think that's like pretty reasonable as well. If people feel more comfortable going that direction with it.
Mr. Swillens? Yes. I would like to clarify what the financial aid process looks like, because before we decide what is and is not reasonable for low-income students to pay for, we should figure out what bureaucratic processes will put them through.
Right, so I don't have a limited like scope of what that actually looks like. My conversation essentially looked like on an individual by individual basis, it will be contacting Michael Sims, possibly the leaders in addition to the student who's looking for that, or just the student on their own if they feel more comfortable going in that way. And they're going to have a conversation with Michael Sims, and he can either point them to a source where they can best get the funding, or they can possibly get it directly from him in that instance. So it's kind of on an individual basis. It's kind of hard to say like blanket, but it will run through him or anyone else.
Do you follow up?
Yes. Yeah. The reason why I asked what that process would look like, because we should understand that bureaucratic processes, which we put low-income students through, also limit opportunities, right? It's not just about whether the money exists or not, it's about what does the student have to go through to get it. And so long as Grinnell is committed to maintaining diversity and having these students, they should understand that it's expensive to maintain low-income diversity at this college. So yeah, I get that this is a large number, and perhaps this is not a precedent that we want to set. I understand that if we're approving large budgets for perhaps a trip that doesn't even have a service component or anything like that, I totally understand. But also, yes, it is expensive to make sure that our events are accessible for all students, including those of the low-income variety.
Can you say something? Okay, that's up.
Yeah, I just wanted, yes, so if we're gonna hold, so I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way Alfred works is that they will consider your financial aid no matter what.
They will.
I think so. Is that true?
Can you repeat that?
So Outbreak considers every individual who applies as financial aid when they ask for contribution?
So the way Outbreak works is that when you apply, you can select a box functionally, which will allow Kira Wilson and the CLS to inquire through the financial aid office if you would be eligible for the covering of that $60 through the Outbreak budget in and of itself. So like it is an opt-in thing.
Yeah, so I guess my point is that if we're gonna hold this trip to the same standards as Outbreak in terms of this, then that process has to be pretty much the same. Otherwise, I'm okay with being it, and not that I get a vote, but I think that it should be like 42 because then it's SGA's responsibility, like Harry's saying, it's expensive, but it's SGA's responsibility to maintain that.
Thank you. Senator Donoghue? As someone who went on the exchange trip last spring, our contribution was $60 and that covered all of the food, and none of that was covered by SGA as far as I was aware, so that's why I'm like, I don't really know if I buy into like how much the food is like predicted to cost. And as a side note, Outbreak has a basis of $60, but that's only for 1 week of the expected family contribution, and then it is brought down by financial aid. Yeah, that was pretty much my point, is if it's only 1 week and it's $60 for Outbreak and it's less to go on the exchange trip, which is 2 weeks, I just want to like make people think about that.
Thank you. Senator Goldhammer?
I agree with what Senator Stallings had to say, and I'm not sure again how the bureaucratic process works, but I would also like to point out that this trip is less than 2 weeks away, so that might put a just perspective on things.
Senator Stallings?
Yeah, I can't personally be comfortable denying this vote until I have a better idea of what the process looks like for what low-income students would have to do in order to be a part of this trip, especially given the time constraints and how funding and stuff works for getting funding for things around Grinnell. Like me applying for funding for CLS 3 weeks ago because I can't afford for grad school visits and yet to get the money in my account. Like I'm fearful that us disproving this and like waiting and hoping that the students can just work it out is not going to be at the cost of them and not anyone else. And given that, I really like push us to approve this budget.
Thank you. Councilor Chair Christensen?
Has the you've already had the application open, right, for participating?
Yes.
So on the application, have people been applying with the aware already that they will be expected to contribute $60 or $42?
Yeah, so on the application, right at the beginning, I said we're looking at a personal contribution that would at most be $60.
Okay, so people who are applying are already prepared?
Yeah, they recognize that that's there. Yep, and then in addition, I did write resources are available if you need to navigate the financial aid situation in an alternative way. I'd also just like to speak really quickly to the point about the bureaucratic process that we're referring to. It would go through Michael Sims primarily because he, as not a student, has access to, with the consent of the student, look at financial aid information and would be able to likely, I'm assuming that the process on his end would look similar to Outbreak, where they're able to determine whether or not it's viable for a student to receive financial aid for this portion.
So I'm thinking about just like the sheer like very large number we've already approved for this trip, and then like this again very large number that's like coming to SBC. I'm wondering if the services chair, SBC chair, can speak to like, I don't know what this means for like the budget for the rest of the semester. Like, is it going to limit students for what they want to do the rest of the semester? Are they going to be able to do like, I don't know, opportunities for other orgs that we keep spending here?
I don't want this to sway the vote in financial, like, we have 30,000 this semester, but please remember, like, and this is for every big budget, why we bring them here is every big budget we say yes to, we have to say no to several other smaller budgets. If you say yes to a $5,000 budget, there is there are 2 organizations that can ask for that kind of money. And so when thinking about something like this, remember one, it's also spring semester, so yes, there will be a high volume, but also consider quality. Those are the things we try and discuss in committee when we're thinking about saying yes to something so large. We have already appropriated a large amount of money to this, so now we follow through, maintain the quality of the event, but remember, it's a trade-off between saying yes and all the other people we may have to say no to. Because it is spring semester, and I can tell you that we will probably run out of money just because it is spring semester.
You guys say tell me?
How much was left over in the budget like last year, last spring, with like the champions? And also, follow-up question is there other funding sources that can be allocated to the SPC and services budget if they do run out of money? Quinn?
Yeah, I don't know that number off the top of my head in terms of what was left over in the spring semester last year. I do not think it was a substantial portion. In fact, if memory serves, we had to make emergency allocations to the committees at the end of last year. There are sources that can be used to supplement committee funding at the end of each semester or as they run low on their budgets. However, that is in poor practice to do so because of the fact that SGA will not always have the surplus that we have. And when we go through our budgetary process, we're already like over budgeted. We have a budget deficit. That doesn't mean we have a real deficit because of the way that we spend our money, and we'll think that the realizations that people don't actually spend all the money that is actually allocated to them. The problem is that in order to budget in such a way that actually reflects like the flexibility at the end of each semester would put us in a very risky financial situation.
So, yes, so there is a surplus that...
There's a surplus today, there won't be in the future. And so to engage in practices like this now is not in what my opinion would be for engaging in best practices and institutional memory and making sure that SGA can consistently operate between years.
Is this a follow-up?
Yeah. So what would happen to the surplus if we don't use it this year?
I mean, we'll have it again next year, most likely. The SGA is unique in that it is one of the few departments on campus where our budget surplus rolls over. The status of that is still up in the air at this moment because of the fact that Miles and Amanda and I are scheduling a meeting with Nancy Combs, the director of the college, and controller to discuss that status, the state of the rollover. As far as I can tell, like it's not going to go anywhere until we do something with it.
Senator Sullivan?
Sorry. Whether this budget is too big or not, I think that we have an obligation to follow through at this point. We've already approved the larger budget of, what was it, $4,000 something dollars, right? And I think that to not approve this would be to leave it half done. And I think that that would be at the detriment of one particular group of students than any other group of students. And I think that the next time that a budget like this is so extreme in society, when it comes again the following year, that we should have discussions prior before approving their actual large budget, because now I think that what's done is done. Yeah.
I was also wondering, and I agree with what Senator Stallings is saying, I'm wondering if it's possible that because of the large size of this budget, that afterward you could compile a more comprehensive, maybe than normal report about like what you felt like costs were used for, what could be done better in the future, especially because it's already approved. I think that would be a helpful way also for us to kind of understand the process for larger events in the future. I don't know if that's already a thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's like a really, really great idea, and definitely something that's been lacking in the past regarding like follow through afterwards about like what they want to maintain and keep tabs on what is realistically being used and not used. So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Three things. One, I really agree with what Senator Stallings is saying, both about the process consideration and the leaving a project half finished. I think my concern about that is that we only know that we might have left the project half finished. I worry that had we not had this in it and just passed it last time, like the project just would have been half finished. And so I guess being a little more careful. Actually, my second comment related to that, we'll call my first comment, is I wanted to know from Josh, the services coordinator, do you think that not approving this budget would leave it half finished? Because I really don't want to, a project that we've already approved, if like you think, because committee did pass this, and if committee thinks that like this money is needed to make this event successful, then like I think that we should pass it. And so I wanted to hear from you and defer to your judgment from me about that.
Well, one thing, like talking to Tim, and this again is just my personal opinion, I cannot tell you how a trip 2 weeks from now is going to go, but I will say that this is different from any other food budget because Tim didn't walk in here and ask us for the money. We sat down and told him, why haven't you considered this option? This was birthed from us, and so I think we do have some responsibility over it, but I really do want to caution that as we move forward from this, when a budget like this comes, when we're thinking things like this, be very cautious how you add to budgets. I am not saying that this was a bad decision that we made, but we have to own it. But I do recognize the fact that they did put in a lot of hard work, and we're the ones who asked them to do it. But as to whether or not this needs to be passed, I cannot say with like full confidence. I'm sure that like
full confidence to what?
That for this trip to go well, this needs to be passed. I cannot say that like, this budget has to be passed for it to go well. I can say that SPC will be fine. We have gone over budget before. We have made it work. We will be fine. That's the only thing I can say.
Thank you. Senator Stallings.
Yeah, again, I would like to suggest that when we talk about whether the trip will be successful or not, or whether it's going to go well or not, yeah, it's going to go well for some students. And I believe that some students could go on this trip as is, without us approving this budget, and have a fantastic time. Actually, most students will, but even if it's just one student that wouldn't, I think that is significant and important. So I think that without approving it as it is, that there's a possibility that even one student could not see this as a successful iteration of this trip if they believe that it's not accessible to them monetarily.
Just a note, like to kind of inform that conversation a little bit. In a lot of the applications that I've received and looked through to this point, because I have received a handful already, I'm going to be doing a final look through tonight. A lot of them have mentioned, obviously not explicitly talk about financial availability, but there's been a lot of phrasing along the lines of like, I've never had the opportunity to travel before, or I've never had the opportunity to see the US before. And although there's a lot of different reasons why that could be, one of those reasons very, very easily could be financial issues. And so, although we in no way explicitly ask, where's your financial aid at, obviously, there are indicators that it is something that students interested in an opportunity like this may have to really heavily weigh when they make their decision as to whether or not they can actually do this.
President Becker?
I did see who it was, someone kind of in this vicinity was talking about the trips like this moving forward and how we approach them. I just wanted to let everyone know there's like a guiding document like under review internally in terms of how we approach funding for student excursions like this. So like just so everyone's aware that's going to be making its way here in the near future.
Thank you. Is that a follow-up?
It's a move to vote.
So we have a motion to previous questions, seconded by DOC Logan. All those in favor of moving to the voting procedure? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, that vote passes. We are now going to move into voting procedure, and this is to pass the budget requested by Extreme Society for their spring break trip. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. We are looking for 19. So if we could get 2 more, please. Thank you. Okay, and with 18 in in favor and 1 opposing. This budget passes. So, congratulations. Thank you all for your engagement. Next, is that the last services budget? Yep. Okay. Now we are going to move on to the confirmation of cabinet appointments for the 2019-2020 academic year.
It's happening.
So could the Alex please read this? Or is it you or is it no?
Oh, no, I didn't know if you wanted to go. Yes, I'd like to first, before we go into all of the specific candidates, just say we had a bunch of amazing candidates for all the positions, and that I think I speak for all 3 of us when we say that we are so excited to appoint all of these people, and that we hope that you will be as excited as for them, for us. Ladies first.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Can you, everything you're going to read, can you email it to me, please?
What was that?
Everything that you're going to read, can you email it to me?
Yeah.
And then the other thing we want to be careful, if this happens to go into like a bigger discussion or anything, let's just remember like, we're going to do each appointment really one by one, so say one person. So I think we're going to start with Ace. I do not read, so we'll just read out the order.
So it's
Ace. Yes, yeah, you're good. Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, for ACE Chair for the fall of next year, we are appointing Amelia Zernig, Senator Amelia Zernig, as the All-Campus Events Coordinator, because she has a strong understanding of the Grinnell community and a vision for the ACE Chair position. She has a clear game plan for making all-campus events accessible and inclusive in various ways, as well as for optimizing the ACE planning process. Amelia is a committed senator that understands SGA process, is involved with ACE committee, and works many jobs around campus that amplify our interconnectedness in our community. She is also an advocate and a leader of Connecting Grinnellians, which we think gives her an intimate understanding of both Grinnell campus and community culture. We look forward to having her perspective and ambition as a part of next year's cabinet.
Do we have any questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Scully?
I have a question about the entire confirmation. Should I wait until the second is presented? Like the second person for the spring?
Yeah, actually, point of order, I think we'd like to do these like individually for each semester, just so we like we can give each candidate that time.
Okay.
But if you have a general question, right now.
Yeah, so I have a general question. Why exactly are you splitting the coordinator position in this capacity? Like, why is one person going to follow one person after spring?
For all of the positions that we have split, it's because some people are only available for one semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the concern that I had about that is perhaps the confusion that we lost by not having one person in that position for the entire year.
Yeah.
And I get availability and also am pro both of these people in this position. But I am also concerned if, like, why you guys chose these particular people over a person that could do it for the whole year. Was there not a person who could do it the whole year that was not also maybe equally qualified or something like that?
2 things. One, we actually went into this process with some ideas about which positions we thought could suit the semester split and which ones that we honestly thought frankly couldn't. We thought that ACE specifically could do a 2-semester split because we saw ACE as a, you're planning for a semester of events and like this is the budget for the semester, and so we thought that if we selected 2 candidates who could work well together, that they would be able to do the joint work necessary to make it feel like a cohesive year. And yes, for any of these, if we have them split, it's because we think that they are more able to do the job than anyone that applied that was able to do it for the entire year.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I can add super quickly just to this, I think also that in a lot of these positions, we saw a lot of similarities between the people that were sharing the position in terms of the ability to collaborate and over this period where people are unavailable, as well as I think that in a lot of these circumstances, it's an asset to bring in a fresher perspective at a certain point through the year when you also already have an understanding of what's important.
Yeah, I would say I think it's important that the confirmations are together for the reason you said. I mean, you chose these people because they work well together, and because, like, for example, like, say, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you should vote for Lon and Amelia, but if say like you didn't want to vote for Amelia, then like, what is Lon doing?
Right. The reason I suggested doing them separately is because in the past when the application has gone out and people have only been available for 1 semester, it's been like asked, can you apply with another person? We actually didn't do that, and I think that we would stand by if one person wasn't confirmed for 1 semester. We're really confident in each of these individuals' abilities to do the job, that we would probably prefer to appoint them and then, you know, for whatever reason, search for another person for the other semester. But I'm open to, if other people want to consider them jointly, we are totally open to do that. Yeah.
Chair Mystic?
I just also would like to put in that, in terms of like understanding how the year goes with the position, fall and spring are definitely very separate in terms of like continue, if you want to think about continuity. Yeah, like I think that there's also like value in like having it separate because of the fact that fall and spring are very different.
I also just really quickly wanted to add that this is fine, right?
Next time, no, this time, yes.
Okay, apologies.
No, just so it's fair to everyone,
Right.
because I have to be recognized.
Right. Sorry. To address Senator Stallings' question, we did address these concerns throughout the process. We gave like careful consideration in our questions during the interviews with these candidates. And yeah, we do make these decisions based on sort of a comprehensive consideration of all these factors.
I didn't realize that people didn't apply together, so it makes me feel a little bit less like this should happen this way. But one other thing I would say is I was ACE chair a spring semester one time, and like I think it worked out well. I had a great co-chair, Sayla, but it worked out fine.
Senator DeVega?
Just for Senate planning reasons, we were just curious as to why this wasn't sent out in our minutes. We didn't have the chance to review it in order to like form questions about like the appointments. Not that we have like just we would like to have some time to think about it.
Yeah. We hadn't made all the decisions by the time that the agenda was sent out, and we thought that it'd be okay to bring it for today because we thought that all of the information that senators would be making appointments based off of would be on the information that we presented during the appointments and not, hopefully not just the name that was put up there, like hopefully you guys have questions for the people. But if anybody feels like they need more time to consider any of the candidates, please take that note for sure.
Thank you. Senator Stallings?
Yes, I'm sorry, I have a lot of thoughts about this. Yeah, so far as like, what would happen if we moved these confirmations to next week? Like, I want to know if your work would be inhibited in some capacity, just because I would want to give everyone a chance to think about these candidates. Well, I'm personally for all of them and for their approval. I don't know if that is the case for everyone. But I also think it's important to consider if this will like put you a week behind in the work that you want to get started.
Yeah. I will say that I am ready to get started planning what cabinet training will look like with these people, because I think that there are some pretty specific considerations, because we have someone that's off campus that we're appointing. We have the we actually have 3 positions that will be split by the semester, and so while I think that we're ready to get started planning, I'm really open to moving this to next week. The only thing that I would ask is that I would ask that if anyone motions to move it to next week, please let it be because like you personally think that you need it to be moved to next week, not because we're worried that anyone else needs it to be good. You know,
I'm not going to vote to move it.
Yeah. No, we are. Please, if you guys need any more time to consider these people, I would love to be able to talk about the candidates today so that if we did move it, you know, we're able to consider, you know, with the additional week, you would actually have information that you were considering. But yeah, just let us know. That's why we love doing things early.
You gonna say something?
Could you send up the written up like notes that you guys took to the Senate and so that people could review it possibly if we do move it to next week?
The notes or the rationales?
Notes during the interview process.
I'm not entirely comfortable with that because SGA doesn't have any precedent for sending.
Okay, or the rationale.
What, yeah, absolutely.
Tracy Weber?
Yeah, I actually just want to second what Regina said about like I personally don't have a problem with moving confirmations, but I would definitely like to give my rationale now. And like I've already sent Dylan my statement, so that should be going out regardless of whether we get confirmations tonight or later. That should be going out tonight. But yeah, I think it's like very important. I don't know, especially just with some of these rules that like I want you guys to hear like my take like on Oscar's appointment, for instance. I think that's like really important information to consider also.
Senator DeVega?
Is this all of them, or could you, because I think diversity and outreach coordinator is
So they're all here, it's just, we have not scrolled down yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tracy Logan?
I would ask, just for the sake of time tonight and getting the most information we can in, if we could possibly get started with the first confirmation and then maybe give the rationale. If people feel like there's not enough information, then we could like motion to move that rationale the next week. If it, like as if we're going through the process, people are feeling like they need more information, we can move it. But like, I'm wondering if it would be possible to do it do it confirmation by confirmation.
Could you potentially just send out the rationale now, so everyone could review it themselves, and then...
Is there not a rationale verbally given, as you described,
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form?
My experience is that when I was a senator, I remember giving verbal, what are they called, rationales. If you guys want the written rationale, I will send it to, would it be best if I send it, I'll send it to the email that you sent so that like everybody just gets it. But yeah, we will have verbal rationales and the candidate will have a chance to speak and people will have a chance to ask questions.
Senator DeVega?
Yeah, I'm sure, and I'm completely confident in your capabilities to confirm people that are fitting for the role. But my only hesitation with like doing the step-by-step is that I give all these wonderful candidates and I say, yeah, great. And then I scroll down and then maybe I have a question about one of the ones on the second page because I still don't know who they are. So that is my only hesitation because we don't have these minutes. We cannot.
Okay, so here is the full list of candidates. That is the full list?
Yeah.
That is the full list of candidates. Senator Stallings?
One, for accessibility. I can't see that. Just saying. Two, the last concern that I have about specific confirmation of the all-campus event coordinator. The only problem that I could see happening with having the position split in this way is that there is a learning curve to any position, and I would fear that having like a person appointed in the spring would institute a long learning curve, and then there would be like a longer time attributed to like the person figuring out a position. So how will you make sure that in the fall, say that Lana is working with Amelia on, being up to date on like how these things work? Well, like how will they cooperate throughout the year?
Yeah. I actually have a point of order, and I'm kind of sending an email and sending this email to y'all and talking at the same time. Point of order or point of information, I can never remember which one's correct. Do people want to, because I want to answer that question, but if people want to hash out any more details about process or how we're going to do it, can we do that first? Just because I don't, like I said in the beginning, I don't want to do injustice to the time we have for each person by getting confused about whether we're talking about the appointment or whether we're talking about process. So this is not to say I'm not going to answer my question. I just want to make sure that we're ready to move on. So like if anybody's not ready to move on, I don't want to start responding about these.
So something from Court of Susan?
Yeah.
No, I was just literally going to ask you if you could just like describe what the process of confirmation is for these, because I think people don't really understand.
Yeah, totally. I'll just start from the beginning. So we sent out an all-campus email calling for applications to apply for SGA cabinet. We
all three of us looked over the applications and decided which people that we wanted to interview. We interviewed people, we have notes from the interview, we have any resumes that were submitted to us, and we have responses to questions that we asked specific to each position. And then our plan for confirmations modeled pretty much just as I remember from being a senator last year, and any other appointments that I've seen done this year, was just to submit the cabinet appointments as a agenda item tonight, and then give verbal rationales for each candidate, allow senators as much time as needed to ask questions of us about why we nominated each person, and to ask everyone that can make it about what their ideas were for the position and what they think qualifies them. Send it to a vote and see what happens. Thank you. You can say something?
Is it possible to move the confirmations to next week, since people haven't really had time to like review the rationales, and I think people have questions. I think all the candidates are great.
Yeah. I have a point of, yeah.
So like, I don't know if we're like rushed for time.
Yeah.
Inching closer to 9.
Yeah. I think that my reservation about moving it to next week goes back to what I said about the reason we brought it as soon as we were ready and we thought that we knew who the candidates, who we wanted to appoint, was because we wanted people to make decisions based on what we said, not the names that we gave. And I definitely understand if anybody wants like the written rationales to look over and then ask us during the week. Honestly, the only reason we did it this way is because the execs last year did our appointments this way. And so we're going off of the model that we have. If we want to change the model this year, we totally can, but yeah.
Previous elect,
For the sake of time, I feel like we're going in circles. If anybody is interested in moving this to next week, pass a motion to do so.
Yeah,
or
and let's vote on it.
continue.
Yeah.
okay, so was that a motion to
Yeah.
vote?
Do you want to make, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion to vote to push that over before we have a question that needs to be addressed. Yes.
I'm sorry, and I don't mean to like be throwing this whole thing off the rails, but I'm seeing 3 positions that have this kind of stratified thing, and I'm really worried about the efficiency of the organization, of the positions and capacity that they are as like that, and how that will better serve the student body. I would like to think that there would be a justification that should be presented about why you believe that this model will best benefit the organization and its functioning for student well-being, because I personally do not understand it, it doesn't make sense to me. So even if this is moved next week, I don't think I will be in the position to confirm these positions as they are.
Yeah. My response to that would be, we did not split the positions as we did. We don't feel confident that we could appoint people that could do the job as we would want them to. I think that there are a lot of considerations that go into appointing an SGA cabinet that have to do with a lot of things. One of the considerations is continuity. One of the considerations is preparedness. Considerations have to do with, collaboration. These are things that we all thought very seriously about because we take a lot of responsibility for however next year goes. Because this is a cabinet that, our names are on, and I sincerely think that if we do not confirm these people, we will need to start from the beginning with a confirmation process, not simply call on someone that we've already interviewed who could be here for the whole year. That would probably push confirmations out a while because we would be searching for people who didn't apply for the first time around. But if the Senate thinks that it's important enough to have someone for the entire year over having someone who we think is really qualified for both semesters, then that's why we brought these appointments early so that you guys could make that call, because ultimately it's the Senate that appoints, it's not us that appoints. So it's
to your judgment. You have a follow-up?
Yes. Then I also in favor of moving it to next week, and I think that there should be some type of rationale, like a written rationale, as to why this model is better than what could have possibly happened for this semester, or the next year, sorry.
Yeah. Is it okay that we're, okay. The thing we will have to be careful about, and we'll try to figure out the best way to do this for next week, is we want to protect the privacy of anybody that did apply and that didn't get chosen. And some people may be familiar with people that apply for positions. I don't think that I would feel comfortable ever saying we chose these people because these other people all weren't qualified for this reason, because that feels mean. But we can do our best to come up with a little bit of a discussion about, given the circumstances, why we're confident that this will work. Yeah.
Did you say totally?
I think, if I recall correctly, one of the reasons why the election was moved earlier so that Senate can have a lot more time to discuss confirmations. And so I don't think this process should be rushed. And so
this is the more time, yeah, so that it's not rushed. Like, we have time to push it to next week. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Christensen?
I'm not, I don't care if we move it to next week. I just coming from having run concerts this year, I don't think that it would be a problem at all for two people to run it in different semesters. And not just for the fact that Finn and Victoria have been doing concerts and know how to run shit, but run stuff, sorry. I also just think that if we are in the position of having to train, I think we are in a position of having to train more people, we need as much time as we can get. So that's why I'm kind of confused as why we want to push it back, but also are we gonna have enough time to train everybody? So I don't really understand that. And I don't see it being a problem for my personal stance. I really don't see it as a problem. That's just what I'll say.
Victoria?
And also note, Cassidy will be on campus next semester, even if Finn and I are on different semesters, so they will be able to help guide us as well in that position. Also, I think it's very discriminatory to say that if somebody can't be here both semesters, they can't hold a position, because so many third years go abroad, and I don't think we should deny them going abroad or make them choose between going abroad and serving as part of SGA.
Please do not tap as people are talking. Thank you.
And I think it's better to have I almost think it's better to have a younger cabinet of people so that there's better institutional memory happening at the school, and specifically with SGA. And also nobody nobody else applied besides Finn and Victoria. I'm just gonna say that. We don't have another person. So what do we do?
Also, I'm not trying to be mean by saying please don't make noises if other people are talking, just don't do it. Okay? Thank you.
Can we do the voting procedure?
On what?
The motion made 10 years ago.
President Becker?
Sorry.
You good?
Yeah.
Yep. Can I raise a comment?
Yes.
Cool. So for context, so one to clarify a point you made earlier, Regina, that the way this model was brought forward to the Senate is the same as we did it last year. We did not provide written rationales to the Senate, and nor had previous cabinets before us, but we have provided the names on the agenda prior to the meeting. Second, my cabinet did not bring forward our recommendations to the Senate last year until March 14th. So in terms of scaling against previous years, that is, and the shifted election timeline, that was the status of last year.
Thank you. Yeah. Motion to move into next week, just to get a pulse on how many people actually want to do this next week.
Okay, so before we do that, just want to make sure all questions I had.
So I've been noticing that there's a big concern about the continuity, and I was wondering if maybe the candidate, the up on there, if they could maybe write out a rationale of them together, if they could say this is how we're going to make sure that there's continuity, because I do know that like when you're in a different country, like it's harder to communicate. So I think like if they could send that to Dylan beforehand so that we could all read it, I think that would be really beneficial in the sense of just understanding, because that it seems for a lot of people the continuity is very important, and I agree with that sense. Would the candidates be okay with that? Yes, or I mean, this is just a concern.
We will ask the people that we have appointed to do that, if the senators would like them to do that, and if they're not willing to do that, then we would consider appointing them. So yes, they will do that if that is necessary.
I would like to speak as a candidate, not as the president of the Senate. So please, I will physically step away from the gavel and speak as I am. But, so I'm going abroad to China in the fall, and I'm really excited about it. But I think, as someone mentioned before, that students should not be denied access to campus even if they are not physically here on campus. Going abroad is a massive privilege, something that I'm so thankful for, and I'm also really thankful that like I will still be able to have continued involvement while I'm not physically here on campus, and then when I come back. And so I understand people's want to move this to next week and to have a written rationale as to why we believe we are somewhat qualified for this position, but I personally feel that that is somewhat unnecessary in light of the fact that people were chosen and then people were not chosen based on their qualifications, and it makes it very, very uncomfortable. I'm saying this as someone that applied for cabinet last year and did not get it. It makes them very uncomfortable when people just really like kind of project their selection onto other people, and that is me just speaking as someone who has done this before and who has not gotten it, and now someone who has done it and tentatively gotten it. So just everyone deserves the right to be engaged with student government, whether they are here or whether they are not, and I trust the judgment of the execs in who they chose based off of their like very objective qualifications, and I just hope other people can understand that people were chosen for a reason based off their qualifications, and it does not do good to people that were not selected for these positions to have those people that were selected really just project like why they deserve this. I think that will just serve to make people uncomfortable, because in the past it has made me very uncomfortable. So, leave that there. Yes, then Mr. Zernig.
I just wanted to comment that because the rationale was read for me, I would be uncomfortable if we left Senate tonight without reading the rationale for all of the other appointments.
Thank you. Tucker.
As someone who's up here on the projector, like this request does kind of make me uncomfortable. Like I did not come to this meeting, I did not apply to this job expecting this, and if like that's what the Senate wants, that's fair, but like, I don't know, I have like plans for next weekend. I can drop them if I need to come back to like defend myself, but it's just like a lot there. Like first of all, it makes me very uncomfortable. And then if you're asking for a rationale about like continuity, I want a more specific rubric than that, because for me, like continuity is, as a very general word, very adjacent to like institutionalization. And as someone who applied for a position that's all about diversity, something that's very dynamic, constantly changes, I think that, like, not to like already defend it, I think it is strengthened by having potentially two people from considerably different backgrounds. And so you might say, oh, we want continuity, but honestly, a continuity in philosophy of diversity over the course of the year is not necessarily, like always a great thing. So like when you mean continuity, do you mean like fairness, judgment, structure, your ability to have meetings, to write out forms? Like what do you mean when you say continuity? I need precision of language.
I think this is just going back to what Senator's already said. I said it before, I stand by wanting to get through rationales today. I honestly, like, I know that you all have questions. I really want to vote on whether or not we want to move it and then move on based on that, just so we can get that figured out. I'm going to bring the motion up again.
We have a motion to vote on whether or not we are moving. So we have one final question, then we are voting whether or not this is being resolved. Mr. Welch.
I appreciate your patience. So, the only thing to say is that, like, I think I've seen a lot of people at Senate vote on things with much less information before. I think, like, maybe it's probably a number of people who saw this extreme society budget for the first time when it was on the screen, who didn't even, like, necessarily review it for Senate. At this point, we have verbal rationales, we have the written rationales. Like, this is a more thorough process. We've already interrogated the process. I don't know, I feel very strongly that this should happen this week. We shouldn't shoot the collective foot of next year's SGA by delaying their training less time to get ready.
Thank you. Now we have a vote on whether or not this is happening this week or next week. We are going to do it by clickers. So we have a motion to the previous question, and it is seconded by, who made the motion?
Oh, I thought someone else.
Yeah. Oh, you made it. Okay, seconded by DOC. Logan, my bad. All those in favor of moving to voting procedure?
Oh,
To clarify,
Yes.
are we voting to whether or not we're voting on this?
We are voting on whether or not this is moving into a vote.
Okay.
So all those in favor of moving into the voting procedure, do you have a point of inquiry? No.
Wait, voting on clicker.
Pardon?
Or voting on it?
We are voting on the clickers. No, we are not voting on the clickers right now. Just raise your hand if you want to move into voting procedure.
On the motion, correct? Yeah.
Yes. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, so that motion passes. We are now going to vote in procedure to determine whether or not the confirmations will happen at this student senate or the following Sunday student senate. So this will be by clicker. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining.
Point of information is yes, move it to next week, or yes today? I think yes is move it to next week.
Yes is move it to next week. Thank you for the clarification. So
No
vote
is do it
yes
now.
if you wish to move it to next week. No if you wish to have it today. And then abstain if you do not wish to have your vote counted. We are looking for 19. Just one more.
Click it again, maybe. Back.
Think you got it. Just one. Okay. Thank you all. With 7 in favor, 9 opposed, 3 abstaining, that does not pass, which means we will not be voting on the confirmations next week. We will be voting on it today. Thank you. Now, let's proceed back to the rationales. The way this is going to go, just be mindful of time, is that the presenters of the rationales will speak, as in the execs. There will be a hopefully very brief question and answer period, and then we will do the confirmation.
Point of order.
Yes.
Are we speaking without further discussion? Are we going to go into the rationales and the confirmations without further discussion now?
Without further discussion on pushing back,
No, without further discussion about the confirmations themselves.
as in the candidate, sorry, I don't.
Like, as in the candidates, as in how it's being done, as in the entire structure.
That is to your discretion.
We're currently on a discussion topic of the ACE coordinator appointment. I would be more comfortable if anyone feels like there's another topic to be discussed other than moving it to next week. If someone could motion to add it to the agenda, just so that it's formal and we're not doing it during the time that we're supposed to be giving to Amelia and Lana. So yes, as we're on this agenda item, I will be speaking to their appointments. If anybody would like to discuss anything else, there is procedure for that.
Thank you. Senator Golden,
Actually,
Yep.
no? Okay.
Would you like to?
I'd like the motion to add that to the agenda. Maybe just the a meta discussion of confirmations seems to be like the thing that I'm hearing. I would like the motion to add that.
To today's agenda?
Yes.
Via,
Approach.
okay, sorry, I thought there was a specific little rule that. So we have a motion to add, this would follow after the confirmation item number 7, and it would be after that, a motion to add the discussion of confirmation, just procedures in general to today's agenda. Is that motion seconded? By Chair Mystic. Okay, all those in favor of adding this to today's agenda? Yeah.
Point of order.
Yes.
Is this coming before the confirmations themselves?
No.
Yeah.
It's going after the confirmations. Oh.
I would prefer if it was added before.
I was under the impression it was after, but you want it before?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you want it, oh, you want it to be added right now?
Yes.
Okay, cool, sorry, I did not understand that. A motion to add the discussion of confirmations right now, which was seconded. So all those in favor of adding that, and we will be discussing that right now.
Point of order,
Yes.
is this about the process of hiring, or is this about the candidates themselves, or diversity? We're just a little bit, I think maybe a little, some people are unclear about what exactly you're motioning to put on the agenda.
Miles, do you mind clarifying that?
I think there was a discussion that was halted by the previous vote, and I want to make sure that everyone's voices feel like they're heard in this space in regards to the meta-narrative of these confirmations. This is not about the specific candidates themselves. This is about the confirmations as an idea.
Okay. Where were we? We were voting in favor of adding this. All those in favor of adding this?
This is, can I ask you a clarification?
Yes.
Point. So are we discussing whether we, about the main split? Is that's my,
It is discussing the confirmation process in general because discussion previously was halted by the vote. Is that, yes? And as vague as that is what it is. I'm not going to specify right now. But okay, all those that are in favor of adding this right now, please raise your hands. All those opposed? All those abstaining? We are missing votes, so you have to choose yes, no, or I am not counting. Okay. If you have not voted, Dylan made it an abstention, so that fails. 5, 10, and 3. Pardon? Do you have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's important to discuss the fact that half of the cabinet is going to be on campus and then it's going to change. And I think that not necessarily as like the impact of how the cabinet is going to function, but I guess like an evaluation of how it's going to look. Because I think that I don't think this is going to happen. In my opinion, I know that this happened before where it's like one particular position, but not multiple.
Senator Goldheimer?
Well, she just walked out the room, but President-elect, she said that she just wants us to talk about the candidates and that's it. Am I getting it correct? And not if we can't talk about that.
I cannot speak to that.
Okay. Just because like on the original agenda we talked about, the only point that it's just that talking about the confirmation of cabinet appointments and it doesn't say the specific cabinet members, so I think we should be able to talk outside the specific cabinet members.
Yes, we will.
At this point, there's been a vote to delay, a vote to have a new agenda item to discuss the process, and you've lost the vote, and now we should talk about the agenda item we're on.
Right, which is number 7, which just
Which
says
is, yeah, the confirmation procedure, which follows that we elect, the elects talk about the people that they appointed to positions, and then the people appointed to positions have a chance to speak about their appointment or whatnot very briefly, and then there's a question and answer period, and then the confirmation process happens. So 2 motions and votes were brought up, both of them failed, so now we are still on number 7, which is the confirmation.
I have a point of information. I'd actually like to, yeah, thank you. The treasurer and the senator brought a little technicality that has been overlooked by cabinets for recent history. Appointments are for term of office. Term of office is in some places in the Constitution defined as the academic year, and so I don't feel comfortable
presenting this as is, despite the fact that, you know, we were going off of precedent from many years of the positions being split, because no matter how much I believe in something, we are governed by a constitution. That's not to say that I think that the Constitution is perfect right now, but I would like to motion again to move this indefinitely until we figure out how we can make our appointments compliant with our governing documents.
We have a motion to push this back indefinitely, seconded by DPS All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, we are now moving into the voting procedure for this, and this is to postpone the proclamation indefinitely until this matches with the Constitution. So the stations are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. We need two more. We need one more. We still need one more. So please, or try again if you have. Thank you very much. With 17 in favor and 2 abstentions, this passes, which means that this will be postponed indefinitely until it matches with the Constitution.
I know there's nothing that I'm technically speaking on right now, but I wanted to thank the senators that brought this to our attention. I wanted to thank everyone that's been here tonight, despite this craziness. I want to thank the appointed who's been here despite this craziness. Even though we were going off of information from, you know, how pilots have done it, ultimately that's our fault, and we apologize completely for missing that.
Senator Stallings?
Yes, I would just like to express that moving forward, that when we continue the discussions about confirmation processes and things, we think about complexities of these positions, whether one position would be suited better for this type of structuring or over another, such as concert chair versus A's. I would ask that we think about not only of ourselves, and like, because I personally would never want to deny anyone based on your position, but also thinking about the student body and who we are intended to serve and the intention of this organization. And I just press all of us to think about these things, especially as we continue to discuss how this will look going forward and constitutional changes that I'm sure will be brought to reform. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, now we have the cabinet, Senator Gumagella.
Sorry, yeah, so we're talking about constitutional changes. Reform committee is happening this week, so come through. I'm gonna plug my own committee real quick. It'll happen Thursday at 7 p.m. In the SJ.
Thank you. Senator Montefiore?
Not a senator. Do you have to be a senator to go to the reform committee?
No.
Sorry?
Do you have to require that page?
No, please come.
Okay, thank you. We are now going to move into the cabinet reports. AC Welch?
I have nothing to add.
Treasurer Ercolani?
I have nothing to add.
AC Weber? Nothing to add. DOC Logan?
Nothing to add.
Deepa Murphy?
Sorry I was late, I had a jitter thing, sorry.
Vice Becker? Yes.
I have a question on Deepa Murphy. I think I've heard the train.
There's like a thing that goes back and forth, that's not the train, but it's like a little, I don't know what you call it, like, little.
I saw the train, a Union Pacific train.
Guys, please maintain the decorum that we all know that is Robert's rules, as in please wait to be recognized to speak. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Stallings. Oh, are you not finished?
Yeah, I was just gonna respond, just that there's some stuff happening on it, but I think they're still going to close 10th Avenue at some point, so just be aware that there is going to be some construction, like it's gonna be minor, but regardless of like train running. Sorry, mine seems like yes.
Mr. Stallings?
Yeah, this is just a point of order information. I don't know what proper thing that I should say, but considering the fact that half the cabinet didn't show up to the first meeting and a lot of the cabinet just left, I can't speak to what plans are happening after this, but I do think the cabinet should be concerned about the integrity of this organization and how it's operating. I noticed the cabinet has been very much not present in like the last meetings, and half usually only shows up. And given this, I think that you guys should be incredibly concerned about how, one, this meeting is running, but also how the organization is operating, because this is not okay. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, President Becker?
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add.
Sorry, I have a question. On the Jack Wisconsin Memorial, can you give us an update? The last update we heard said it was about the tree between the farm and the rice. Do you have an update since then?
Yeah, so there will be a memorial service. So there's a commencement committee is discussing this as well as there's a specific memorial committee dedicated to this as well. Tentatively, there is scheduled for 2:30 p.m. on Monday of commencement. There will be a unveiling of the memorial in the Sue Byrne Terrace. Logistics of that are being planned as well. The other big part of this is the conferring some form of degree, working with the registrar to see if we can institute a model that is mirrored in some of our peer institutions, to have the president make a recommendation to the board that the memorial degree be conferred to the family of the deceased. That is currently in progress, and I will report back on that as I have more information. There are other finer elements to this too that I can discuss if you'd like to run my office hours, but I think those are the two big kind of updates since I last reported on that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on. DPSA something?
The only thing I have to add is for the outdoor and lighting committee, safety lighting committee, we are going to be writing a proposal and / pushing the town to start working on lighting for High Street, Park Street, / all the other areas that students reside on off campus. So, yeah.
Senator Politics. What is it like for, also just like on campus specifically?
On campus specifically, sorry. What do you
like you, it seems like you're talking more about like off-campus lighting. Is there also?
Oh no, our like primary jurisdiction is on campus,
Right.
but we are going to be like pushing the town to work on off campus as well, especially in the areas where we know that students live. Because it's really dark.
Thank you. Councilor Chair Christensen?
We had a really great concert on Friday, really great turnout, thanks for showing up. We have another concert this Saturday, and our heads is opening for dental order.
I'd just like to commend you on your work. It was a great concert, and I know everybody really enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
I would also like to echo that. It was amazing. And also, thank you for supporting student groups like bands on campus.
Yeah, good.
Is Chair Mystic? Nothing to add. Right. Thank you all for your engagement. We now have the adjourning motion. Motion by Senator Solons and seconded by Treasurer Kalani. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all for your engagement. See you next week. Remember, please bring your name tags to the front. Please bring your name tags to the front. Thank you very much.